the world. I think they're all over the world. I know they're all over the U.S. listening, so all over the world. And they don't know who we are necessarily, so just tell your name and where you're from so that folks can identify that and Google you.
You'll introduce yourself. Okay. Hi, my name's Penny Livingston. I hail from Northern California on the coast, the foggy coastal coast, in a small village, small farm there where I live. And
I'm Robin Milam. I'm with the Global Alliance for Rights of Nature, and I'm from a small town in the foothills of the Sierras. And our group was the allied group, and we were actually a multi-plural allied group because we were indigenous and non-indigenous in the same group and had a lot of really rich discussion. In fact, we started with the whole conversation around what does it mean to be indigenous, which was an active one. But
yeah. So I might need some help to be able to see what... Yeah, so we kind of started out with what does it mean to be indigenous, and, you know, that's a very rich conversation. So but we really wanted to focus the conversation on the rights of Mother Nature and Mother Earth. And so one of the things we thought we came up with out of respect for everybody was that we can describe ourselves in many ways. It's how we act and how we conduct ourselves is how we can really define who we are. So part of the question was, you know, as allies, how can we be in support of the First Nations and Native American people here and really stand with them for the rights of Mother Earth. And one thing that came up was because we had people that have been working on policy in the group, and they came up with the conventional legal structures that we're working in aren't really going to serve us in the future, and they may not be that we may have to really redefine how we govern ourselves. I mean, we've sort of realized that this could get into a very huge legal question around how we make our decisions, who's sitting at the table, the constructs, the basic constructs that I think it was Ben spoke to the group about, where how laws were created to begin with, kind of need to be dissolved, and we really have to start from a very different place. And then we came up with the idea that, you know, with the Haudenosaunee process of the great law of the peacemaker, like there's a tried and true process already invented, and here's a wheel that's been invented and time tested, and maybe to look to these traditional indigenous legal structures and maybe try to support those to rebuild. So, yeah, and then we actually had 4 pages too, but we tried to nuggetize down to 2. So, and how do we build upon the Universal Declaration of the Rights of Mother Earth from Cochabamba, and how can we take that and build upon it and incorporate it more and more in what we do here in this land? And then there was a man here he's a veteran, and he was in the military, and he talked about this military kind of the psychological mindset of command, control, communications, and current intelligence as being this old paradigm, and how we want to move to interdependent, competent, caring, community connection. And he just had all these really kind of nifty ways of saying things. And so the other thing that we're realizing is transporting ourselves into the future and realizing that we can make a difference in even one generation, and transporting ourselves 50 years into the future to think about, wow, this day here, this meeting, this conference, what's the impact that it's going to have 50 years from now? Like, we can look back and say, wow, this was a momentous occasion, and we'd like to see that happen, that we really do shift now, and by the time we're older, we will have achieved what we want to achieve. Okay, and then think about ecological self and other ways of knowing and recognizing that, I think it's been said earlier with many other people here around the shift in consciousness, and especially from the non-native or people here, really re-embedding ourselves into the earth and recognizing that we are the earth, becoming conscious, and that we are all connected. Did I already say something about who's present who's at the table to be making decisions? When we do start, creating new policies, who's going to be at the table and who's going to be that voice? I think this has also already been said before. And the last thing was, one person asked about, okay, if we're going to tear down the capitalist system, what are we going to replace it with? And start thinking about that, and local currencies and multiple currencies and gift economy and whatever, but just start putting in place what we do want and thinking about what we want to replace the old paradigm. And I think that's it. I'm sure I ask forgiveness for anything I've left out. Okay.
I was going to add one more point. My name is Osprey. First of all, I think also one of the things that came up early on in our group is how much we really appreciate being here as the allies to the indigenous people. And for those of us who have been working for over the years on rights of nature work through the Global Alliance and other organizations, I think a big question for us too is learning more about Native American law, indigenous law, so that we can also be of better service in offering our information that we've been learning about the rights of nature, the rights of Mother Earth. It's also about us being here listening so we can understand the historical referencing of Native American law and the struggles that have gone on for so long in this country. So I think a big part of it too is also our ability to listen, and then we'll have more to offer as well. And I think another component is really seeing this incredible conference as a historical event of a lot of healing that can go on in the non-Indigenous community around understanding how we know that these rights of nature, rights of Mother Earth, really come from Indigenous ways of seeing. And I think that's something that we all really recognize, is that we're actually returning to something that has been in this country with Indigenous people for a long, long, long time, and how we are learning how to restructure our Western laws to really honor this ancient and appropriate way of viewing our relationship to the earth and other people.
And along those lines, that was especially with one of the last speakers, we had a brief conversation too about the fact that it's not, when we talk about rights of nature or rights of Mother Earth, it's not that we are looking to give rights of nature or to give rights of Mother Earth. It's the recognizing that those rights do exist, that it's part of natural law, it's part of the indigenous wisdom that we're here to learn and to really honor and look at how we do take it into the modern world in a way that honors our relationship with Mother Earth. And thank you.
And you're listening to synopsis of the breakout sessions.
And we're going to bring up our final groups. We combined groups 5 and 6. They got to sit outside under the gazebo in the rain, and they had no problem with it. So it's nice down here in Lawrence, Kansas. The beautiful waters that came today, which it was interesting walking around campus with a cardboard over my head. Again, name and where you're from, so everyone will know.
While they're coming up, just so you know, we were outside in the nature, in the gazebo, and it rained while we were out there. And then the sun shined, so we figured that was a good sign. One of the points in group 7 of 5, there were 7 people in our 5th number. I don't know if there's numbers mean anything to y'all, or the time of the time. But I just want to say one other thing too. It's interesting that we're having this conversation during Holy Week. That's a big deal in the world, Holy Week. Some big things happen during Holy Week, so we think this is a part of that happening. Something different, but something big. Pardon? Oh, we're missing one of our 7. But we basically, and it's hard to filter all this out during the course of, we can introduce ourselves. My name's Chaz.
Laura?
And we have, who was missing?
Alonzo's
Alonzo's. There's only one. But one of the things difficult to do now is filtering out, because a lot of things that were said, we had those thoughts as well. But we had 5 basic themes, and we had a little symbol we put together on this, because part of it is the environment we have in ourselves, how we take care of that. That's very important, as was mentioned by some of the speakers. But then there's other influence of that environment, and that's outside of us. Maybe our world, maybe the earth might say, how it influences us. Then there's some other things that are way out there that not many people know about. A couple people have some theories about it, like Nostradamus, and the Mayan calendar talks about these things, and prophecies some people know about. So some people know about these larger influences on us. I mean, pay attention to them. They're not always clear, but sometimes they're damn clear. So we need to pay attention to that. So basically we had some themes and trying to filter all this out, hearing all the excellent other speakers. One of them's, we had a difficult time getting to really answer the question, because we were, I won't say we were stuck, but we enjoyed the conversation about, are these really rights? What are we really talking about? What are we really talking about? And I think we had some really, I wish you were all there. But we'll try and summarize, and hopefully they'll all contribute their comments. 5 basic themes, the way it is, maybe 6. One of them, we've lost our way, but not our ways. Much of these things are instructions, original instructions, indigenous knowledge, a lot of different themes. But basically, it's there. Paying attention to it is a key part of what we need to do. Some people call them old ways, responsibilities, old thinking, indigenous thinking, a lot of different terms. But basically, our ways are there. We're a little lost, but the indigenous ways aren't. The other thing is trying to share. We tried to share what we know in both the multimedia and the multi-generational capacities, because nowadays it's not just making a nice speech, putting it on a poster, which is the start of it. A lot of our generations are into the media. The people are going to know here what I just said all over the place. How'd they do that? I still don't want to figure that out, but I know it happens. Another part we had was darkness and the light and the brightness. We need to spend as much time, and a lot of darkness, we need to spend that time on the good thing, the light, the brightness, the things we have in our communities that are going well. We were challenged by one brother up here about the darkness, and absolutely recognize it, but also don't ignore the brightness that we have in our communities, the brightness that's going on in the world. It was a beautiful sun out there. We were out there after we got a little wet, but it was beautiful too, but so was the rain. So just recognize that brightness we have, and within that is the relationships we talk about, and trying to get a handle on that. And I'm trying to filter out some from what all you said to what we talked about. We talked about the whole rights issue. Is it law and order? Is it the Western law we're talking about, our own natural laws? So we got into not a debate, but certainly a different perspective on what we're really talking about when we're talking about rights and the law, when we're talking about law. And then law and order kind of implies there's lawlessness. Well, we know that's not necessarily true. But we need to, again, engage more conversation of what it really means when there is no Western law to us. So, and another issue, I guess, was this whole issue of improving our original instructions, trying to practice what we preach. And if we take it ourselves and practice it in our own communities, that was a challenge. We also recognize that it needs to be practiced more in our own communities, as much as just telling everybody else what they should do. We need to do it ourselves. So our brother was just up here. He was right on with that one. And we need to face that as well. So anyone else that you wanted to comment to?
Real quick, we hit on just about every single topic that every other group hit on, dead on, almost in the same order, as a matter of fact. When we started talking about rights, it really came down to that as Indigenous people, there is no such thing as rights, because it's inherent in everything that we do and we believe. So it's kind of a moot point. Why are we discussing that? It's really about ways of being, okay? And if we're going to be addressing that, that's probably from the perspective of power that we need to be looking at it from. And the question kept coming up, and I saw in the same thing in all your groups of how are we going to govern this or execute this plan, correct? So this is I'm going to introduce an idea that I've been working on. And as a matter of fact, now that I'm going to speak these words, it's going to make it sacred. It's going to make it so. I've been working on this plan because I believe the indigenous need better representation in the world. We don't actually have anybody that speaks for us. There's a lot of our brothers and sisters that have no one speaking for them whatsoever. Okay, and that was the whole point of the United Nations. So in order to give them some rocks, I have a plan, a suggestion, okay? I would like to introduce the idea of all tribes, nations, and indigenous peoples fire of council, a council of fires, okay? And basically that is going to be, the first action is that the grandmothers will be the seated speakers and deciders. Okay, so we need to get back to our altruistic programs and beliefs. We can bring back our warrior culture by actually enlisting our warriors and Amazons, which is female warriors, because we have them, to actually get involved with like humanitarian issues around the world. We can actually help the UN police issues. Okay, so what I'm looking for here from all of you guys is help. Okay, I don't know anyone. This is kind of like my beginning on this. This needs to happen, and I think that the tribal councils are going to be good partners. We have to learn to work together. And I really want this to start in North, Central, and South America first, but we're going to roll it out to the entire world. We have got to make a change in the world. We're passive people, aren't we? That's how we are. It's a different way of being. We're used to seeing the world go around and just fight, and that's part of that imbalance that we're seeing in the world. If you look at all the prophecies, the group before us are technically what we call the Rainbow Warriors. They are our partners, and this is our time. So, folks, I'm asking you to let this spread like wildfire. This is our time. We already know the answers. We're the first to mess up. That's why we know what's going on with the environment, right? So, since we know how to fix things, we're going to. But we just need to take this one step at a time. So this journey begins with today, the first step. And I'm really glad I came here because everybody's already thinking it. They just didn't quite take that next step. So I thank you guys. Anybody else have anything they want to add on here?
About the language. These guys got to speak Navajo. They got to learn their language, and they shared that with us. And when we were outside, you mentioned we got to be outside, and those spirits were with us. And so when you guys were having your meetings inside, we got that extra help. So there you go.
I think along with that extra help, or part of that extra help, was that the clouds cleared and the sun came out for a moment. And that was important to me because I was a tree hugger for a long time. I worked at the EPA for a while, so the talks this morning were really interesting. But I have had my moments of true grieving over the natural environment. And in my personal journey through that, I just wanted to share that I've come to this space of true hope in knowing that anything as beautiful as the earth that our Creator has given us cannot be destroyed by the ignorance of mankind. And that sort of sustains me and was something that I felt again when the sun came out after the storm. So thank you.
Yat-e. We didn't actually talk about the toilet paper, but we did came to a consensus that the word rights is a European concept. It's a good concept, but it's a concept that will not really the Navajo Nation, the Navajo language does not have a word for rights. Rather, the rights is being discussed in form of obligation, in forms of a duty. When the child is still in the womb, the prayers and the songs starts. And as the child grows, the child knows more about what to do in life. So if the child, as an adult, does things wrong, then you don't have to say you did this wrong. They know that already. And they are ready for whatever measure that has to be taken. When I was on the bench, we arraigned many Navajos accused of a charge. And one thing that was very clear is that the people who came for the arraignment, they had no idea, no concept of a right. No matter how we put it in English, the results was always the same. I did it. I didn't mean to do it. Even though I tell them that, you know, if a non-Indian commits a crime, kills 100 people, still the person will maintain his or her innocence and say, I'm not guilty. So on those bases, you know, that the right, the word right does not exist. So even then, we still work it, and somehow we have to make a space for it in our, you know, in our today's world. Thank you.
And this is live at Haskell University in Lawrence, Kansas.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. It sounded like there was really, really, really great discussions going on today. And